Welcome, everybody. This is Urban Awakening, and I'm your host, Jose Reynoso. Today, we have Katja Kempe. She's the CEO and founder of Viveka. Viveka is a combination of Katja's personal experience and personal passion. As a strategy manager and the COO of an international leading law firm, Katja was required to follow strategic, innovative, and global industry trends, whilst implementing new strategies to continuously up-level efficiencies and processes. Her passion for personal growth, as well as the need for professional development in our current times of exponential change, birthed Viveka. To acknowledge her success with Viveka, she has recently been presented with StarCon's Female Entrepreneur of the Year Award 2018. StarCon is Asia Pacific's largest startup conference. Katja is an international experienced multilingual, inspired by innovation, and a strong believer in creating positive, and possible sustainable change. Welcome, Katja. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you in this podcast. And as always, smiling. And please, how is life in Australia?
Jose, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here, and the honor is really mine. Thank you, first of all. I just want to say this before I forget later on, for what you're doing for our community, for the awakening of so many people in our age, people of all ages really, and all around the world. Your service is really needed, so thank you for putting this podcast together. And the weather here in Australia is gorgeous. It's summer, it's nice and hot, as you can see. I'm just wearing a t-shirt, and we have plus 30 degrees Celsius. So it's beautiful here.
Beautiful, thanks. So, we know each other from a while, and I remember when we first met that you took me on a tour to your former office, and I remember what floor was it on?
Oh, that was at Herbert Smith Freehouse. That was floor 35.
35. Yeah, I remember that going up the elevator, I could feel like that that presence of like you're going up to where the leaders meet and hang out, and then getting out into that floor and seeing that expansive view of Sydney. Definitely a very unique view and perspective of Sydney. What was your role in that company? It was a law firm, right?
Yeah, it was a law firm. In that company, I was a strategy manager, so the global strategy manager. We went through quite some change back then. I mean, this is 6 years back now. Time flies. And we merged with a UK firm. So that company is now the 8th largest in the world. And it was really, really exciting times. I learned a lot in that role.
Beautiful. I mean, you were in a position of power and everything. So what was your feeling working there? Do you feel like you had it all? You were like you ate the biscuit and you owned the biscuit shop, I guess, or something like that. Like what was your mindset when you ascended through the elevator every day and you were like, oh, this is my life? Was it your dream also?
You know what? That's a really, really interesting question, and it's hard to answer that with a yes or no. I guess everything has nuances, and so when I first started, I mean, it was a very prestigious company, and then my career went on. I then actually, it was my, my stepping stone to then become COO of even a larger law firm. So my career even enhanced or progressed further. And of course, it was prestigious. It was an honor. I was working on global projects. It was exciting. And it was also very stressful in the end. And was it everything that I asked for? Was I having the biscuit or the cake and eating it too? And no, because I guess, and more people, especially listening to this podcast, can probably relate. There comes a time when you just hear like a knock and that knock gets louder and it gets quicker and you can't ignore it, and then you go like, well, this is no longer fulfilling me, and somebody's knocking on your door saying, step up, do something more. What are you here to do for, what's your purpose? Like step into that. And so it was fulfilling, and it fed my ego, and I felt stroked every day, and it was glamorous, and I learned a lot. But it was great for the time, and then you just evolve.
Thanks. Because I mean, like, from my perspective, you were basically living the dream that we are taught in school or in university. Like, you were making really good money. You were a female leader in your sector, which is also it's different times, I guess. Your mom or our grandparents couldn't even think of a female figure being in that position. So you were like everything that society will say. She's a female leader. She's working in the floor 33 and with the best views of Sydney, making really good money. What could you be lacking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. From the outside, it always looks different sometimes to the inside, and it's I profoundly remember a point when I was lying in my bed, and I was laying in my bed alone. I was single, and I had the job, I had the glamorous apartment, and I was in the best suburb of Sydney. I have the most beautiful friends back then, still have them now. And I just cried, and I was like, I just said, I prayed. I said, look, I surrender. Like, I don't know. I'm doing everything the best I can, the way I've been told. I'm a good person. I'm following the rules, but it's not working my way. And it gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. Like, I literally laid there, and I was just like, I promise to follow. Like, you just show me the way, and I promise to say yes. I promise to completely give myself. And you know what happened the very next day? Sorry, 2 days after, that's not true. I had 27 missed calls from a headhunter asking me to be COO of this next company. And I knew I was going to get it, but I also knew that again was a stepping stone, and that then after that I would step into what I'm here to do. And then after that I created Vika. So I probably got off topic a bit, Jose. I'm sorry, but
no, there's no such thing of off topic. There's just the real topic, and there's no a script or anything. So thank you for sharing what flows into your mind. So you got hired for this new position as a COO for even a bigger company, and what happened there? Because then after a while, I remember you sharing with us that you were not completely fulfilled, and then something happened that made you be sitting down where you're sitting down now, I guess.
What happened there? So obviously, I was really honored to get the role, and it was an amazing boot camp. I learned so much. From being a strategy manager, doing processes, projects, which are very complex. I was running complex, large teams all of a sudden, a pool of over 30 people, 7 direct reports, 30 people reporting into them, and then another 150 in the whole firm. And it was a very different beast from one position to the next. And there was not much guidance because the company was going through a lot of growth. So things were moving very quickly. And I'm really, really grateful for that position. Fantastic team members, really highly skilled people that I was working with. But it also came with a very high expectation and little guidance, and it was throwing you in the deep and swimming with the sharks. So I actually developed anxiety, and a person like me, Jose, you know me, like, I'm super bubbly. I probably never act my age. I always have a smile on my face, and I had anxiety after good 6 months in, and And the beauty is, every pain always leads you to something further on your path,
Mm-hmm.
And so that I really deepened my mindfulness. I was meditating at least an hour each day, half an hour in the morning, half an hour at night, probably in the middle of the night when I was waking up, another half an hour. I read a lot more, and I signed up for group activities like A-Fest and Commit to Mind Valley, and I even signed up saying like I'm ready to step into my next role, and I know that A-Fest will help me find that, and like it was very clear in my mind that it was a ticking time bomb, and I guess the exit, however, wasn't as expected. I was actually retrenched in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and that was the atomic bomb, because a person like me, like it wasn't on my radar, and I'm quite aware. It wasn't, it wasn't even a thinkable possibility that I would. It wasn't even in my realm. I have the highest work ethics. I produced a lot. All KPIs were met. Huge cost savings for the company achieved. New growth opportunities. We opened a new office. It was like so many achievements. And when I was called in that morning with my multiple CEOs to have that meeting, I remember overlooking even a higher floor back then, the harbor, and it was just gorgeous. And it was quite funny. Nobody could look me in the eye. Everybody was looking down, and and it took me 10 minutes to realize that we're in a conversation of me being let go. I didn't realize. I was like, what are we talking about? Like, I don't understand. And as soon as I did, I am so grateful that they weren't looking at me, Jose, because I couldn't stop smiling. It was like, oh my God, this is like, you should not be smiling. And just stop smiling, and it just made it worse. And I was like, oh my God, they're not looking at me. And I just asked to have the room. And then, I wrote on my vision board back then, Jose, it's still up there, cut loose. And higher calling, it's still right there on the wall. And all I could see was that in front of me, those letters, cut loose, higher calling. And I literally felt as if somebody was embracing me and just whisper, it's okay, you're ready. Like, it was the weirdest thing. And then I went back to my desk, made sure everything's okay, wrote multiple emails, timed them for an hour, hand over letters and everything. And then I just walked out, and I literally did not come back. And then it hit me like a freight train a day after, once reality, what's happening, like this is, yes, of course I wanted to get out, but on my terms, and was I ready? And unexpected and such a shock, and Jose, I fell deep. I did my own little eat, pray, love, as you know. I went to Bali for 5 weeks, to Mexico for another 6 weeks, and then I went to Costa Rica in the jungle and did a shamanic yoga retreat, and for another 2 months nearly, I was in Costa Rica. 6 weeks again. And so I literally just needed time out. I had various jobs lined up. People wanted, and very, very good jobs. People wanted me back, and all I knew is I don't want back. And so was it all rosy? No. Well, yes, it was all rosy, because I love to say the universe only hands you roses. Sometimes you smell the rose for the scent and the beautiful petal, and it's like, it's an obvious symbol of love. You're like, oh my God, it's a rose, it's love, I can tell, And sometimes all you feel are the thorns, but it's a rose. And that was my moment when all I felt were the thorns, but it was still a symbol of love or a blessing in disguise. So let's put it that way.
Wow, amazing story. So it almost feels like when you were hired as a CEO, but you were like after a while and you started having anxiety and you started, but at the same time that pushed you, that pressure or friction pushed you to start meditating and whatnot, it made you realize that you have to start preparing yourself for what's next, because you were like this, you were aware enough to know that that's not life and that there's more, and you were preparing yourself. You even put yourself the mission board and all those things. You were preparing yourself. But for what you were telling me, I think being laid off or like fired, whatever, it was the way of life telling you like, no, it's happening now, because maybe you could have taken another year and what would have happened in your life or health, right? So it was, I think when you really, that's why I try to communicate to the podcasters, that to the listeners, that when you're ready and if you really surrender, life will make it happen. You just have to be there available. You just have to be waiting at the bus stop, right? And you were there waiting at the bus stop, full on with your gear and whatnot, but you didn't know when it came, and it came, and it was like a smack. And I could almost, I even got goosebumps when you were explaining that the first 10 minutes you didn't even realize. You were like, okay, it's like the boat is sinking, but I'm dancing. I'm still dancing. I'm happy, And probably that day you were full of adrenaline and whatnot. The next day is when you really were able to go deep, introvert, and feel, But what you just related to us, it was the beginning of a beautiful adventure, and I was able to witness from the distance your whole evolution. I think Bianca and I were like, wow, from our last visit. And what I think when things got really like, okay, she's going for it, is when you were because many people go to Bali and they can enjoy time there, but when you were like in the jungle of Costa Rica doing plant medicine, it was like, okay, she is there. She's yeah. When you go into an ayahuasca or plant medicine ceremony, and you get uh, put face to face with your own fears, but even more with your own limitless power. It's a beautiful experience. So that was basically the cultivation brew for Viveka. So what's Viveka? Can you explain what's Viveka? What does it mean?
Yeah, so Viveka is actually a Sanskrit word. It's like Sanskrit is the language of the yogis, like Latin is the language of the legal industry or medicine and doctors. And so it's a dead language. So there's no direct translation, but the closest we can get is that it means inner truth, alignment, and discernment knowledge. So discernment knowledge, basically in the sense that you are able to decide what is wrong and right for you. Because there is no wrong and right. There's only wrong and right for you. And so once you are in full alignment with yourself and you know who you are and you know what you're here to do and you know like who you truly are in your core, you can only practice discernment knowledge. There's no other choice because you just know what's right and wrong from you. You're not influenced from the outside or trying to please the outside either, like that internal externalization. It doesn't happen anymore because you're just really like in equilibrium. So Viveka means that you're in alignment, so you can practice truth knowledge, discernment knowledge. And what is it? It's a marketplace for coaches, mentors, and speakers. It's the world's largest marketplace for the professional and personal growth industry. And why? Because there's multiple reasons, but everything is born out of your pain. And when I got laid off, like I recovered quickly because it's just my way of being. I'm very resilient, but I fell hard and long. And I thought to myself, oh my God, if I'm this crushed, and I was aware from strategy of law firms, what's happening in the world with AI, with machine learning, with the fourth industrial revolution, with the rise of entrepreneurs, with also the rise of anxiety and depression that I felt firsthand as well. And everything's at such a quicker pace. And so people are needing a platform to get professional help, and not just in a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I mean, that's like a level. It can be a level too deep for some, and it may not always be necessary. But just a hand that's accessible financially, geographically, as well as like the understanding and having the trust that these people are accessible and there for you. It's a luxury nowadays, and so that's why we created Viveka, and it's going really well. And it's everything's a journey. And you said before, plant medicine and so on, that was definitely a big step for my breaking open and my understanding and everything. But nothing could have happened with the step before. You know what I mean? So it's so hard to pinpoint what.
Oh yeah, there's no magic pill. It's like it was a complement or an extra to your whole bouquet of skill sets and awakening tools that you were experiencing throughout that process, I guess. Yeah.
But it was definitely a big, strong pill.
I bet you got to smell the rose, see the petals, and feel the thorns all at the same time.
You know what? My first couple of plant experiences were just the roses. It was just. I didn't even feel upset, as in purge.
Okay, purge or vomit. Okay, yeah, wow. So you said when you were explaining Viveka, you're like, why Viveka? And immediately I thought about like, why not, right? Like as a starting entrepreneur myself or whatever, like a creative that loves creating content and whatnot. I think we all need a coach. There's a point in life that if you are I'm getting into ultra running or whatever, marathons, and you can run, but if you get a coach, he's going to tell you how definitely not to do it and how to progress in the most efficient way without injuring yourself as much. And in your case with Viveka, probably this coach can help you not lose as much money or be as productive, on point, and be as effective as possible. So I think, why not? There's really no reason for not accessing Viveka when you're in the path of creating something. As you say, it's also the generation of entrepreneurs now. Everybody that has a cell phone, I'm not even gonna say a computer, a cell phone, you can create a massive empire. Like I was listening to a Tim Ferriss show, and he's the one that wrote the 4-Hour Week book, and he was interviewing somebody that followed his book, and within less than a year he already made over $1 million in revenue with only one employee. It was himself. After a year, he expanded, and now he has 5 employees and he makes more than $2 million revenue a year. And he started in 2014. So that was for me, was a clear example and almost a slap in my face. Like, you have no excuses now to make the abundance that you want, because there's enough resources, there's enough demand from the market. But we need coaches. We need somebody that can help you strategize, that helps you create the most, as I was saying before, efficient plan. And that's what Viveka basically offers, right?
It's absolutely right. And I love that you pointed out, I think our mindset is changing. Coaching is no longer a bandage that, oh, you're broken, you need some fixing, or what's wrong with you. It's literally like, what is the quickest, most efficient way to get to the goal that I want to achieve? Mm-hmm. And through, taking the shortcuts because somebody's already been there and knows the best practices, or giving you the tips. And of course, you still got to do it yourself, and you're going to be the one doing the work. But like you said, we can all run, but if you know what shoes to wear, what gear to buy, what interval training to do, or whatever the tricks are, you can run faster, a lot quicker. You can accelerate your learning. And so, luxury product. Yeah,
and I guess Viveka, because it's online, and then again we're utilizing this technology that some people say, oh, all this technology, whatever, but this technology is helping us being remote. It helps us being location independent. And I guess now deep Missouri farmer can access the best coach of Australia or anywhere in the world thanks to Viveka. So now this farmer can actually become the biggest farmer in Missouri or the whole world if he decides to, because he can access information that for our parents would be impossible. Before, if I wanted to get a coach, I would have to look in my neighborhood, in my city, maybe on Yellow Pages. But now Viveka is compiling everything. It's like an Uber, no? But you can get if you don't have transportation, it's because you don't want to, right? I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we'll see.
Wow, amazing! Yeah, it's I can't wait to see where this is going. So, where is Viveka going? Where's like what's because as I mentioned at the beginning, you got awarded with the Female Entrepreneur of the Year of 2018 for StarCons, which for those of you who don't know, it's Asia Pacific largest startup conference, and Asia is huge. Like, let's not say probably the biggest market in the world. Like, Asia is everything. That's where everything comes. Taiwan, all the patents are coming. Korea, and then Australia, of course. So where is it going? Because now you have this, and how many coaches do you have in Viveka?
So active members, we have over 1,000, but within our database, we have nearly 20,000.
Oh, wow.
So we have access to all of them. Should a company really require certain skills, we just reach out individually and go like, look, I actually have a job for you, whether or not they're in our data, whether or not they're active on the platform, because our role is to really best match the suited candidates. You know, whoever, like we're a bit like a dating company, if you want. Yeah. And where are we going? Oh my God, so excited to talk about our future goals. So Viveka is like a 3-tier membership platform, but it's also a 3-phase roadmap that we had. So our first huge phase was to just like get people on there, create awareness, and become the world's largest marketplace. And it was a strategic choice. We gave a lot away for free in the beginning, and still are keeping our prices really, really low, just so it's really accessible for the coaches, because our end goal is to help the coaches as best as we can. And that enabled us, if you provide value and value and value, if you make it a win-win-win, it's inevitable that you're going to grow. And so we grew into the world's largest marketplace. So that was phase 1. Phase 2 was really to introduce our sales agency and marketing agency, where we actually act like as a connector between the two, what I just said. You know, we look for the best coach, and we look for the companies and vice versa, and where we can place each other. So there's a really good tie-up there, which gives so much more trust and transparency into the industry. And phase 3 is that we're now doing a couple of investor rounds where we're actually rebuilding our IT completely. So we are an SaaS platform service provider. So we will host the entire backend for the coaches. One of the biggest pain points for the coaches is that their various software systems, they all have to subscribe to them individually, and then they don't talk to each other. So it's cost inefficient, and it's the processes aren't inefficient and optimized either, because your accounting doesn't talk to your CRM, doesn't talk to your camera, your Zoom or whatever it is, like your communication tool, doesn't talk to your funnel. So we're creating the backend so it's all integrated and at a more cost-efficient solution for the coaches. And the idea behind it is, so 80% of a coach's time on average is currently wasted on the admin. So if we can take that away so the coach can just focus on doing the work, getting the work, I mean, that's our purpose, to bring more personal and professional growth to the world. So, so that's why we're doing it.
Beautiful. I was just browsing on your website right now, and I see you have 3 categories so far: coach, speaker, mentor, and that you have a price like bar that you can select your minimum and maximum, and even your location, your type of service, language, meeting type. This is like you said, this is like a dating site, but that actually should not bring any headaches. It should bring only benefits and growth in your company. It's really, really awesome. So going back to one of the topics, because as you can see, this podcast is not linear or anything like that. I would like to know. Oh, actually, I saw a post on Instagram from Viveka that said something along the lines that if Plan A didn't work, the alphabet has 25 more letters. Stay cool. And I really, really like this. Do you think people are afraid of failing, and if so, why?
I don't think people have even heard about Plan C, you know? And that's only the third letter. So I think society has brought us up in a way to, it's got to go one way. It's really that masculine energy. And I mean, I did it for most of my life. I was like, and it's ambitious and it serves you to a certain point. It gets you to achieve certain goals, and you get to surpass certain boundaries with, ambition is a two-edged sword, though. Just, it has its limitations. And sometimes there's a lot faster ways to achieve what you want to achieve if you can just step back and actually, see, there's actually a shortcut to be taken, or if you actually let other people step up, or if you, if you take a different path. And failure is such a big word in our society, isn't it? And it's probably one of the most, in my opinion, most misunderstood words.
It's even a word that it should be like that F word that nobody says. You're right? Like, don't even say it.
Yeah, we have another F word. I always say, you can't say fat. You can't. That's our F word. So yeah, failure can come into that category too. So I think, it's so funny because I love this metaphor that somebody, a mentor actually once told me, and it's like, your goal is here, right? And you're right here. And so when we go one step up, or we still see that the goal is up there and we haven't reached it yet, and and you go one step up even more, and the goal is still up there and you haven't reached it. And even that for some people is failure, because they don't measure the progress that they've already achieved. And then there's, sorry, my face is there, but yeah, you can still see. So, and then for other people, this is your goal and this is your starting point, and they might go over here, but it's still closer. And they don't see that because it's like so not the path that they considered they needed to take, which was right up here. But you never know. There might be a jumping board right here, and that might jump up here. And it's, failure is misunderstood. And I mean, there's so many beautiful quotes out there. But I think the most important thing is just celebration is a really big thing, and gratitude, and being aware of where you are. Somebody once told me, do you have an evidence board? I was like, what? I have a vision board. And do you have an evidence board? I was like, no, what's an evidence board? So an evidence board is what you put next to your vision board to show you that your vision is happening. And it's the little things. Let's say on your vision board, you have, I want to make $1 million just because everybody wants to make money. Well, if you've made $10, do you put that, where is that? Do you celebrate that? Because you're headed there. If you make $100, you need to put it on your evidence board. Or, some people want to lose weight, or some people want to be more fit, or some people want to get married or start dating, or some people want to have children. Everything is, if you measure your progress and celebrate that. I mean, we can go into vibration and energy now, right, Jose? How important that is, because quantum physics shows us everything is energy, and if you can celebrate the little steps, it will actually, you are a magnet for more of that. And so that's why it was so beautiful. So I've distracted a bit from failure to the evidence board, because failure is just a misinterpretation of success sometimes. And sometimes we just get so how should I say it? I know it from myself, so determined that it has to look a certain way. Otherwise, it's not success. But if you take a step back and sometimes somebody else just tells me you've actually achieved what you want to achieve, why aren't you celebrating? It's like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There was this Latin American journalist that wrote a book, and he made a really good point, saying that Latin or like Latin countries or Latin American countries, including Spain, they are way behind in patents and development and technology and entrepreneurship because failure, or that F word, is it's it puts you in a box, and it almost like it's so bad to fail, and they actually consider failing as you failed for life, when you go to Silicon Valley, and it's like, oh, I've had 3 bankrupt companies, I failed in so many projects, guess what, now I'm a 6-digit or 7-digit person. But I guess it's just, as you said, a perspective. Instead of focusing in I failed 7 times, it's like I've done this 7 times and I've learned this, and now I got it. But you've been in that gratitude mentality, in that positive, or like you were saying, quantum physics, like where attention goes, energy flows. So even if you have your attention into that $10 gain, or 1 kilo less that you've lost working out, or that extra mile that you've been able to run, that's what keeps feeding that momentum of achieving and becoming an achiever instead of becoming a failure personality or whatever. Yeah, that's why I really like that Instagram post. It was like, oh yeah, I think listeners should
Yeah,
listen
25
to
more
this.
letters in the alphabet. Why are you so stressed?
Why
Like,
are
come
you so
on.
stressed? Yeah.
That's
So
one of my
before the podcast, you said something about your M spot and the magic in the world. What is this?
Oh, so actually, I can't take it as my own. I've got to give tribute where it's due. A friend of mine, a beautiful friend, Tara Maxwell, she actually coined this term to me once, the M spot. So it's basically your magic in the world, and your mindset, and your mission, and your message, and then lastly follows your money, like if you've got all those. And yeah, I thought it would be really nice to talk about it here in your podcast, because so many people listening, I think, are going through this whole awakening journey, and like, oh, some people might be asking, what am I supposed to do? I hear all these success stories, and then there's the pressure. Oh, and it's a really so I thought about it then a little bit longer, and I'm writing a book called Surrender. Still writing the book. And I write about it, and I say, we use our fingerprint and our eyes, the iris, and our voice for recognition purposes. It's the strongest identity, like measurement instrument that we have. If you want to lock something, and use your fingerprint. For our phones, we use our fingerprint. We have iris recognition, which is safer than that, and voice recognition, which is not as safe as iris, but it's still very, very safe. And the reason why they're so safe is because they're unique. And we always think of it the way that well, of course my fingerprint's unique, and that's just like, we never think of it in the term like, why is it unique? It actually means that nobody touches the world the way that you touch the world.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
It also means that nobody sees the world that you see the way that you see the world, and it also means that nobody speaks the way that you can speak your message, and that's like your magic. And sometimes we get caught up in that failure or that pressure of, oh, I have to achieve, and I have to become, and I have to become now, and what, and I think there's just beauty and some comfort in knowing that nobody's going to take your spot, because nobody can. And by knowing that, I think that gives us more peace and to breathe, and time to just become and be, and in that being you become, or what you already are. So and then you discover your mindset, the right mindset, which is always filled with gratitude. Once you really see once you, I always say we're on remote control from our higher self until we wake up and actually see, oh my God, what have I done? Like, this has led to this, led to this, led to this, led to this. And then, oh, of course, but unless we are aware of these things and grateful, our higher self will just keep on pushing us through the motions, and you can choose to take control of that and, be grateful for every single experience. And it also obviously then is combined with a lot of trust and openness to receive more. But, it's a balance, and I'm still in that dance. Like, I'm open, please, gentle, But, it's a beautiful dance once you're in it, and once you're aware that everything will happen just the way it should, and you're still in control. It's not like we're just puppets. I don't believe that at all. But that's basically the end spot, finding your magic in the world, and knowing that you have the magic in the mindset, and speak your message, and then your money will come.
Perfect. Because it's still a reality. We still need money or resources to fulfill many dreams and to partake in this movie or this world, this planet. So to wrap this up, first, before I forget, how can people find you? So it's viveka.world.
Yeah, that's right.
Viveka.world, okay.
Yeah,
and
Viveka.
If somebody right now is listening to this and they're like, oh, it's interesting, who is this exactly for? What, Viveka, who's the main audience that could benefit a lot from this service?
Anybody who wants to take their life or an area of their life to the next level. And of course, for coaches, mentors, and speakers who want to serve more clients. So it's really for anybody who feels, oh, I'm looking at my life and, maybe I would like somebody to help me on my work-life balance, or help me in my achieving my sports goals, or help me in achieving, guiding my team, or how to manage this project, or, how to become a better executive leader, how to practice more mindfulness, how to be more spiritual, how to have better sex. We have a coach for anything. So any area of your life that you really want to up level, get in contact with us, get in contact with me personally, info@viveka.world, ask for me. I can get on a call anytime. And yeah,
I would suggest the listeners take advantage of this offer of getting on a call with Katja, because right now she still has some time. I'm guessing down the road, you could only access her through this podcast video or a big conference or the next StarCon or something like that.
Yeah, well, we never know what's down the track, but as I said, I'm in the dance.
So one last question. What advice would you give to a smart, driven college student about to enter the real world? What advice should they ignore also?
Well, I think nowadays the whole new generation is quite aware of it doesn't have to be a certain way. And I really like, some people say, oh, the new generation is so spoiled, and but I think they're just more aware of the opportunities that they have around them. So just the advice would be stay true to yourself. And I think a lot of those people in that generation are already doing that. And in the process, still stay humble though. There's so much more to learn, even from your grandpa that doesn't know how to use his iPhone and still will never probably know how to use his iPhone. And still there's so much learning and experience to receive. So just know that you're always you're a sponge for information, and you always radiate information as well. And that it's a beautiful exchange, and just stay open to that. That would be my advice. And do greatness in this world. The world needs.
And what should they ignore? What advice should they ignore?
What should they ignore? You know, sometimes we just need to do the hard lessons by ourselves. So what one person should ignore might not suit the other, but I'm trying to keep it as general as possible. If you have a body reaction to what somebody says to you, as in, and just take a step back and think about if, you know, this is really the right advice for you. If somebody gives you advice and says, trust me on this, and you feel your stomach is clenching up and your heart is like racing 1,000 times, oh, here's some good advice. You took me by surprise. I didn't think about this, so I'm thinking out loud. You know, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them.
Wow.
And don't put on your lens of justification or anything on top. If somebody tells you they are, just
believe them. Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Thanks. Yeah, you know, like speaking of advice, Sir Richard Branson, the guy from Virgin and all those amazing business, that's a guy I really look up to. I don't know if you know about this, but when he started his magazine, and it was taking too much time from school, the head teacher or like the director of the school had a meeting with him and told him, look, either you stop the magazine or you quit school, so you're gonna have to leave school, and there's two options: either you become a millionaire or you end up in jail. And thank God Richard didn't follow his advice and just stayed true to him, to his own path, just like you're doing. And I'm sure once we are able to access your book, Surrender, it'll be a beautiful recount of your memorable experience and how surrendering into life, unconditional trust, and just keep that beautiful smile like you've always done against any adversity will get you through it, and you will learn and you will grow and you will expand. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to hear your story. Thank you for bringing Viveka to the world, true alignment, our own true alignment, and for helping us access amazing coach even for sex and speaking, public speaking, whatever. Just go to viveka.world, and excited to have you soon again. Have a beautiful day. Lots of blessings.
Thank you so much. As always, it was so lovely to talk to you. I always feel we could talk for hours. You make things so easy. So your listeners are very, very lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.